People woke up around the world yesterday with shocking images of Reuters storming the Capitol Hill building, the Senate, and building of the House of Representatives in the U.S. It was apparently a last-ditch effort by outgoing President Donald Trump to show his strength and public support. Meanwhile, after global condemnation for the acts of vandalism and the U.S. Congress certifying Joe Biden's victory in the presidential election, President Trump has now said his focus turns to ensuring a smooth, orderly, and seamless transition of power. Good morning, I'm Abhyuday Shrestha, and these are the headlines of the hour. The Dahal faction calls on civil society activists to join their agitation against the dissolution of the lower house. Leader Bamdev Gautam calls the premier's decision not to resign a blunder. Uncertainty looms over election preparations as the Election Commission faces unwarranted pressure due to the ongoing tussle between the two factions of the ruling party. U.S. President Donald Trump commits to an orderly transition of power a day after his supporters stormed Congress, provoking world condemnation. And rising coronavirus cases in Japan forces authorities to postpone a public display of the Olympic and Paralympic torches around Tokyo, at least until the end of next month. The Pushpakamal Dahal faction of the Nepal Communist Party, which has been calling for an alliance against the dissolution of the House of Representatives, has started legworks to convince civil society to join the agitation camp. The faction called on civil society activists yesterday, urging them to raise their voices against the dissolution to safeguard democracy and the Constitution. Chairman of the faction, Madhukumar Nepal, sought the support of civil activists to protest against Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli's decision to dissolve the lower house, terming the move of the executive head as autocratic. Addressing the gathering, former Speaker Damannath Dhungana said that Premier Oli's, what he said, whims needed to be checked. Dhungana also accused the Prime Minister of trying to influence the Supreme Court. Likewise, former Chief Commissioner of the CIAA, Suryanath Upadhyay, termed the dissolution of the House of Representatives as a violation of the Constitution and said that the civil society should protest against the move without taking side of any particular party. Vice Chairman of Nepal Communist Party and the member of the National Assembly, Bamdev Gautam, has said that Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli made a blunder by not resigning despite being in minority in the party. Lawmaker Gautam, who has chosen a middle path in the party split, expressed his views in the National Assembly for the first time after being nominated and said that the current situation would not have been invited if Prime Minister Oli had resigned from the post. Lawmaker Gautam said that both the factions moved ahead without consulting him and dragged the country into political crisis despite his repeated initiatives to settle the dispute within the party. Leader Gautam also clarified that the party was divided without any substantial reason.
मलाई अविश्वासद्वारा बर्खास्त गर्ने काम प्रधानमन्त्रीबाट बर्खास्त गर्ने काम गर्नुभयो भने त्यो दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण हुनेछ। मैले उहाँलाई सल्लाह दिएको थिएँ, पार्टीमा जब अल्पमतमा पर्छन् नेताहरू प्रधानमन्त्री नै भए पनि राजीनामा दिनुपर्छ। पार्टी जोगाउनको निम्ति अन्तिम पटक पनि उहाँको निम्ति त्यो अवसर थियो।
Lawmaker Gautam expressed his discontent with Executive Chairman Pushpakamal Dahal for not taking his consent before proceeding with the no-confidence motion against the Prime Minister. Leader Gautam informed that he would accept the verdict of the Supreme Court. Leader Gautam added that he was still consulting with other leaders of both the factions for the party unity. The Nepal Communist Party is on the verge of a split following Premier Oli's decision to dissolve the lower house. However, party's Vice Chairman Gautam has not sided with either of the faction. Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli announced the midterm election for April-May after dissolving the House of Representatives last month, while a number of writs filed against the decision is still under consideration at the Supreme Court. A faction of the ruling Nepal Communist Party, along with the opposition parties, have vehemently stood against the dissolution of the lower house. We have more in this report.
Even as the government has announced of staging midterm elections, uncertainty looms regarding election preparations as the Election Commission itself has come under unwarranted pressure due to the ongoing tussle between the two factions of the NCP regarding the legitimacy and ownership battle. The inter-party dispute between the two factions of the ruling Nepal Communist Party has reached the Election Commission as the feud has now culminated into ownership controversy. However, both the factions have not submitted required documents at the Commission to justify their claim for party ownership, giving way to renewed procedural hassles for the Election Commission. Meanwhile, even as the Apex Court has refrained from issuing a stay order against the resolution of the lower house and halt election preparations, the Election Commission cannot gear up with its preparations in the face of the writs against the resolution of the house still under consideration at the Apex Court. However, the government is mounting pressure to release the poll schedule while the disgruntled faction and the opposition parties are trying to avert midterm elections. Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, during his meeting with the officials of the Commission, had assured government support and had reportedly urged them to divert all priority on the upcoming election. Experts, meanwhile, have opined that the Election Commission should be able to take decision based on its own understanding, irrespective of the mounting pressure from all quarters.
The academic sector that was halted since the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic has continued to remain disrupted. In this context, in our Public Voice segment, we had asked the local residents in Arghakhanchi district where the education sector has been revived partially after a long hiatus. How have the irregularities affected the education curriculum? Let's take a look at what they had to say.
पहिला जुन पढाइमा जान्थे उनीहरुको ध्यान उनीहरुको बाटो चाहिँ अन्य मोबाइलहरु पबजीहरु दुनियादारीहरु उनीहरु चाहिँ आफ्नो ज्ञान बुद्धि घटाउने तर्फ उनीहरु अग्रसर त भएको छन्
जति पढ्थे जति लगनशीलता थियो जति टाइम पढाइमा दिन्थे त्यति छैन अहिले
शिक्षण सिकाइ अनलाइन क्लासबाट भयो धेरै महिना अनि अनलाइन क्लासद्वारा नै हामीले एक्जाम गराइयो
अनलाइन क्लासबाट पनि धेरै अप्ठ्यारो भयो अब कतै नेट नचल्ने इन्टरनेटको प्रब्लम भयो कतै अब लाइन जाने त्यस्ता प्रब्लमहरु भए
पहिला 8 वटा पिरियड हुन्थ्यो भने अहिले 4 वटा पिरियड भइराको छ त्यति पुरै सब्जेक्टहरु पढाइ हुँदा विद्यार्थीमाथि अझ बढी लोड भइराको छ
And it's time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion. And here's the question. What's your take on Electricity Authority's claim that the problem of intermittent supply of power is decreasing? Your options are A, reality, B, false claim, and C, no expected improvement. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B, or C, and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. And it's time now for the sports news. The Nepalese football governing body, ANFA, has decided to cut short the proposed 6-month-long Women League to 1 month. ANFA had earlier said that it would make women football professional and run the league for 6 months. ANFA had even held consultations with women football committees in this regard. However, ANFA has now cited the disruption in the sporting calendar due to the pandemic and has cut short the Women League. The month-long tournament begins in 2 weeks' time with a provision for every team to have 4 foreign players. And that's all for the moment. Keep watching Kantipur Television HD for more news and entertainment. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.